The Galaxy S20 series is here, and with every new flagship release, the last gen gets a price cut. That is how it is. And sure enough, Samsung have cut the prices of the S10 series. Samsung claims the S10 Plus has had a 17,000 rupee price cut. So is it now a great deal, something you should consider picking up in 2020? Hey guys, Ash here from C4E Tech, and in this video, let's find out if the S10 Plus is worth buying in 2020. By the way, if you do end up liking what you see in this video, please consider turning on notifications by hitting that bell icon. Let's now get started. Let's start with the build. This is also a glass sandwich design. The flowing edges, minimal bezels. The Galaxy S10 Plus's design, it holds up very well. From purely this design perspective, the S10 Plus could have actually launched in 2020 and it would still be well received. There's wireless charging, reverse wireless charging, IP68 water and dust resistance. The camera array is of course not of the boxy design that Samsung's going with this year, but that isn't necessarily better or worse than the S10 Plus's design. So build still ranks pretty high. That said, there are a couple of design caveats. I absolutely hate the power button placement. It's way too high, and the Bixby key, it's present. I mean, yes, it can be disabled, so it's not as annoying as it used to be, but it is still annoying nonetheless. I constantly kept hitting it because it is placed where some brands place the power button. But I guess this is something you get used to. The next caveat is something that exists with every phone that has a glass pack. Glass packs are slippery, they pick up fingerprints, etc. To avoid that, you could go with a D-brand skin. D-brand has a lot of options when it comes to skins, loads of customizations available, so your phone can look unique and also be protected at the same time. If you've not checked D-brand out, I'll leave a direct link to our sponsors in the description below. Please do check them out. Okay, moving on. That display, it's got a few differences to this generation's phones, this generation's S phones rather. For starters, the aspect ratio, it's 19:9 instead of 20:9. So the display sizes are not directly comparable, as in the S10 Plus has a 6.4-inch panel, while the S20 Plus has a 6.7-inch panel. So you think the difference is 0.3 inches, which makes the S20 Plus have about a 5% larger screen. But when you take into account the change in aspect ratio, the difference in the overall surface area is about 3%, which is almost negligible. The second difference is those edges, they curve more on the S10 Plus. Some people hate that due to the reflections, some find it more premium. If you're someone who likes it, then the S10 Plus might be the superior option for you. Now these two are minor differences. The big one, that's the refresh rate. The S10 Plus, it has a 60Hz panel compared to the S20 series is 120. That said, even with the S20 series, you still have to go 60Hz if you want to use Quad HD. So if resolution is important to you, then the S10 Plus is quite as good, because it's still a typical flagship AMOLED panel. It's bright, the viewing angles are great. Barring the refresh, it's pretty much a 2020 panel. So the build and the display, they've aged pretty well. You aren't losing a lot by going with the S10 Plus. But what about the specs? Last year's flagship SoC, the Exynos 9820 or the Snapdragon 855 in some markets, that's what we get. And it performs well. There's nothing the S10 Plus cannot run, and there's probably not going to be much it can't run in the near future either. The 9820 is still pretty solid. It's got Mali's G76 MP12 for a GPU, and that's excellent for gaming. No frames drop, no lag whatsoever. Even the user interface is lag-free. The S10 Plus of course doesn't feel quite as smooth as say the S20 Plus, but that's got more to do with the refresh rates than the horsepower available. So you don't have to worry about the performance here. From a day-to-day use perspective, it doesn't have the latest One UI 2.1 that the S20 series does, but in all probability it should be getting it soon. And while talking about updates, keep in mind that this phone is a year old. So one major update, Android 9 to 10, that's already done. So you will get fewer updates with the S10 Plus than if you buy a phone that's launched this year. Moving on to battery life, thanks to that 4100 mAh battery, it's pretty solid. Samsung have optimized things from last year, and the S10 Plus's battery is every bit as good today as it was when the phone launched. The 15-watt charger might be a bit slow for 2020, given even sub 15K phones are coming out with 30-watt chargers. For what it's worth, the S10 Plus can wirelessly charge at the same speed too. Okay, let's now get to what I was very curious to test out, the cameras. How have they aged? Now, I can just show you a bunch of pictures and say, hey, the cameras are good. But I'm sure everyone by now knows that the S10 Plus has good optics. The big question here is, what are you losing out on when compared to a S20 Plus? So here are some side-by-sides. Under good light, they are pretty evenly matched. The S10 Plus has similarly excellent colors and dynamic range. Again, with ultra-wides, they are again, more or less similar. Of course, you can zoom in and pixel peep to find a difference, but unzoomed or at times even zoomed, it's hard to tell a difference. The telephoto compared to the S20 Plus is not quite as good, but it is close. The S20 Plus is better, but not by a huge margin. Under low light, here's where the S20 Plus does fare noticeably better. But the S10 Plus, it's still pretty competent. Another area where the S20 series does way better is with video. Let's forget 8K. Even 4K 60 is a lot more stable on the S20 Plus. At 1080p, we get similar stabilization, but here's where the S10 Plus doesn't have quite the same dynamic range. Look at the shadows in this video. Guys, remember, I'm not harping on the S10 Plus. The cameras are excellent, but this video, it's aimed at people looking to choose between a S10 Plus in 2020 over a S20 or S20 Plus. So I'm just trying to show you what you would lose by going with the S10 Plus instead of a current generation S flagship. Now, selfies, they're kind of similar, not a huge difference despite the S10 Plus having a wider aperture lens. Do note that the S10 Plus cannot do 4K 60 via the selfie camera. So with all that said and done, we get to the pricing. The word is that the S10 Plus has received a 17,000 rupee price cut, and it's now available for 62,000 rupees. Now, this was before the GST hike, but even with that, there is one funny thing to note. Samsung claimed the price had been cut from 79,000 to 62,000, but the S10 Plus never sold for 79,000 because it launched at 74,000 in India. You know how we have a certain price on the box which is always higher than the actual price of the phone? That box price was 79,000. So the real price cut here has been 74 to 62. So 12,000 rupees and not 17,000 rupees as Samsung claims. Anyway, after the GST hike, this phone now sells for 65,200. Pay about 5,000 more and you can get yourself a Galaxy S20. Pay 12,500 more and you can get yourself a S20 Plus. Given the price being so close to the S20 series, I doubt the S10 Plus, despite being as good as it still is, I don't think it's worth the price. If you are gonna pay over 65,000 rupees, you may as well pay another 5,000 and pick up the S20, right? Yes, you will lose out on a little bit of screen real estate, but you'd be gaining a faster chip, newer software with more updates, better cameras, especially for low light and video, faster charging, faster storage. The S20 Plus, or rather the S20 series, uses UFS 3.0 compared to UFS 2.1 on the S10 Plus. And then there's the higher refresh rate display, better placed buttons, no Bixby key, and marginally better battery life. But, here's a but, if in the future the S10 Plus gets its price further slashed, say it drops to about 50 to 53,000 rupees or so, then this will be a good choice. A difference of about 17,000-18,000 from the S20 will make it definitely worth it. But at 65,200, the S10 Plus is priced a little too high to be a realistic option for potential buyers, and Samsung's misleading claim of a 17,000 rupee price cut, it leaves a sour taste in the mouth. Now, those are my 2 cents. What do you think? Do you agree with my thoughts? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments below. And with that, we get to the end of this video. Thumbs up, thumbs down based on whatever you felt about it. Subscribe, turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon if you haven't yet. And thanks a lot for watching. Till next time, my name's Ash. You've been watching C4E Tech, and I'm signing off for now. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.